This gripping story unfolds as Elon Musk and his loyal German shepherd, Titan, are targeted by a group of criminals during a seemingly ordinary evening stroll in the park. Unaware of Titan's history as a retired elite canine, the criminals underestimate the dog's courage and unparalleled skills. What begins as an attempted robbery quickly escalates into a high-stakes confrontation, exposing the arrogance and recklessness of those who exploit fear and intimidation. With loyalty and bravery at its core, this story highlights the indomitable spirit of a hero in the face of injustice. Here's the story: criminals target. Elon Musk, unaware his dog is a legendary retired police canine. Have you ever heard of a dog so extraordinary that it transcends being just a pet, becoming a true guardian? One seemingly tranquil evening took a shocking turn when Elon Musk and his loyal German shepherd, Titan, faced a confrontation with a group of dangerous criminals. What these men didn't realize was that Titan was no ordinary canine. His past as a decorated canine officer in high-stakes missions would soon take center stage. This is a tale of courage, loyalty, and raw skill. What unfolds next will leave you speechless. That evening, the air was cool, and the park glimmered under scattered streetlights. Elon Musk, dressed in a simple hoodie and jeans, strolled down the winding path with Titan, his striking German shepherd, trotting steadily by his side. For Elon, walks like this were rare moments of tranquility amidst the chaos of his demanding life. For Titan, however, every walk was a mission. His sharp eyes scanned the park, his upright ears catching every sound. Every step he took exuded confidence and purpose. But Titan was no ordinary pet. He was a retired legend from the Federal Canine Unit, a veteran of high-profile operations that ranged from bringing down drug kingpins to tracking fugitives. Though he had retired, his instincts never dulled, nor did his keen sense of danger. Tonight, those instincts were about to be tested once more. The park seemed empty, save for the faint rustle of leaves in the trees and the distant hum of traffic. But Elon felt a twinge of unease, as if unseen eyes were watching him. He glanced over his shoulder, but the only movement came from the swaying branches. Titan, however, had already sensed something was off. His pace slowed, his posture stiffened, and his intelligent gaze locked onto a darkened corner of the park. "What is it, boy?" Elon asked softly. Titan didn't respond, of course, but the low growl that rumbled from deep in his chest spoke volumes. Titan had been trained to recognize threats long before they materialized. Whether it was an unfamiliar scent, a misplaced shadow, or muffled footsteps, he could detect danger with an almost supernatural precision. Elon stopped, following Titan's line of sight. In the distance, under the flickering light of a weathered street lamp, 3 figures emerged. They stood motionless, as if waiting, their shapes outlined but their features obscured. Unease crept through Elon's veins. Something about their presence felt wrong. Titan shifted closer to Elon, his growl deepening. He wasn't just protecting Elon, he was preparing for action. The peaceful evening walk was on the verge of turning into something far more dangerous. Titan's legendary training, his loyalty, and his unmatched instincts were about to be put to the ultimate test. As Elon resumed walking cautiously, the men began to move. Their steps were slow and deliberate, their silhouettes closing the gap under the dim park lights. Titan matched Elon's measured pace, his body tense, his ears perked. Elon tightened his grip on the leash, a surge of adrenaline building within him. When the men came into clearer view, their intentions were obvious. One of them smirked, his voice rough and mocking. Well, the great Elon Musk, taking a walk like some average Joe," he jeered. Titan growled, his sharp teeth flashing in the dim light. The sound was low and threatening, a warning for anyone smart enough to heed it. But the men didn't back down. Instead, they laughed, a sharp grating sound that echoed across the empty park. One of them stepped forward, his hand slipping into his pocket. The metallic glint of a blade caught the light as he withdrew a dagger. "Let's make this simple," he sneered. "Hand over your watch and phone, and we won't have any problems." Elon didn't flinch. His calm, steady gaze met theirs, but he said nothing. Titan stepped in front of him, his growls growing louder, his powerful frame tense and coiled like a spring. Despite the provocation, Titan didn't move recklessly. He was calculating, waiting for the precise moment to act. The men were about to find out just how wrong it was to mistake calmness for weakness and a dog for mere company. As the tension thickened, one of the men sneered, his voice dripping with menace. "That dog looks like it needs to learn its place," he growled, bending down to grab a rusted metal pipe from the ground. He slapped it against his palm with a sharp, threatening rhythm. Titan didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped forward deliberately, his powerful frame taut with focus, his piercing eyes locked onto the man as if daring him to act. A light breeze whispered through the trees, rustling the leaves above, but Titan's focus remained unbroken. He lowered his head slightly, sniffing the air in a calculated move. What's it doing, huh? Smelling us for fun? One of the men jeered, his voice grating with false bravado. His companions chuckled uneasily, but Titan ignored them entirely. His senses honed in on something crucial, an unmistakable scent lingering in the air. Gunpowder. Titan's training kicked in immediately. This wasn't just a petty robbery. These men were armed, and the danger was far greater than it initially seemed. Elon, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him, spoke up. "We need to leave now." The men exchanged glances, and their smirks widened. One of them lunged suddenly, his hand outstretched toward Elon. But before he could get close, Titan sprang into action like a streak of lightning. He leapt, his powerful body slamming into the man's chest with precision. The attacker hit the ground hard, gasping as Titan pinned him, a low, ferocious growl rumbling from deep within the dog's throat. For a moment, the remaining two men froze, stunned by the sight of the imposing canine standing guard, his sharp teeth bared in warning. But their hesitation didn't last long. "Get that mutt!" barked the leader, motioning for the others to advance. The two accomplices scrambled into action, grabbing makeshift weapons. One wielded a thick wooden stick, while the other pulled a coil of rope from his jacket pocket. Their intentions were clear now. They weren't just after Elon's belongings. They wanted to neutralize Titan. But Titan wasn't just a dog. He was a seasoned protector, a force of nature trained to face far greater threats than these men could imagine. He moved with deliberate precision, circling just enough to keep Elon behind him, while never letting the attackers out of his sight. Every step he took was calculated, like a master tactician on a battlefield. Elon stood a few feet back, his heart pounding as he watched the scene unfold. He had always known Titan's capabilities, but seeing the dog in action now was like witnessing a living legend at work. This wasn't just bravery, this was mastery. Every movement, every growl was a calculated message. Come closer, and you'll regret it. The air felt heavy, as if time itself had slowed. The men advanced cautiously, their weapons ready, but even they seemed to sense they were outmatched. This wasn't a battle they could win easily. Suddenly, Titan launched himself at the man wielding the knife. His movements were so fast, so precise, that the man barely had time to react. Titan clamped his powerful jaws around the man's wrist, forcing him to drop the blade with a metallic clang. The attacker let out a howl of pain, thrashing wildly, but Titan's grip was unyielding. "Get it off him," the leader roared, his voice cracking with desperation. Another man lunged forward, swinging the wooden stick with all his strength, aiming for Titan. But the dog's reflexes were unmatched. In one fluid motion, Titan released the first man, sidestepped the incoming blow, and dodged with a grace that seemed almost unnatural. The stick whistled through the air, striking nothing but empty space. Titan didn't waste a second. With a thunderous growl, he charged again, leaping with incredible force. He collided with the man wielding the stick, knocking him off his feet. The attacker hit the ground with a heavy thud, gasping as Titan's powerful paws pinned him down. The dog's snarling face hovered inches from the man's, his growl sending an unmistakable message: stay down. The man's face turned ghostly pale, beads of sweat forming on his forehead as fear overtook him. "Call him off," he whimpered, his earlier bravado shattered. Elon, standing tall and composed despite the chaos, crossed his arms. His voice was calm but carried a sharp edge. "You're messing with the wrong guy." The third man, now the only one still standing, tried to muster some confidence as he fumbled with the rope in his trembling hands. "It's just a dog," he stammered, though his voice betrayed his fear. "It can't stop us." But before he could act, Titan's instincts kicked in once more. With a flash of motion, Titan lunged forward, snatching the rope from the man's hands before he could even tighten his grip. The man stumbled back, his confidence crumbling completely as Titan bared his teeth, the rope dangling from his jaws like a trophy. Elon watched, a mix of awe and relief washing over him. Titan wasn't just defending him, he was dismantling the attacker's plan piece by piece. "You still want to keep going?" Elon asked, his tone quiet but cutting. The man backed away further, his hands raised as though to placate the dog. We didn't mean for it to go this far," he stuttered, his voice shaking. Titan stood his ground, his piercing eyes fixed on the man. Even without words, Titan conveyed an undeniable truth. This was his territory, and no one would harm his pack. The criminals were learning the hard way. This wasn't just a dog, Titan was a force they had underestimated, and now they were paying the price. Titan held his ground, his muscular frame forming a protective barrier between Elon and the group of criminals. His stance was unyielding, radiating a quiet but unmistakable warning. They weren't going anywhere. All right, we're leaving," the leader yelled, clutching his injured wrist. His voice was a mix of pain and desperation, but Titan wasn't about to let them walk away so easily. With a single sharp bark, his command echoed across the park, stopping the men in their tracks. It was as if they were rooted to the ground by an invisible force. Moments later, the hum of an approaching car broke the tense silence. The flash of red and blue lights reflected off the dark trees as a police patrol car rolled into view. Panic spread across the criminals' faces as they realized their time had run out. "We didn't do anything," one of them shouted, his voice shaky and unconvincing. The officers stepped out of the vehicle, their movements calm but deliberate. Before the men could even think of running, Titan shifted, his powerful body blocking their only escape route. His low, menacing growl sent a clear message: "Don't even try it." Elon exhaled deeply, relief washing over him. He reached down to pat Titan's head, his voice quiet but full of gratitude. "You did good, buddy, really good." As the officers surveyed the scene and began to detain the men, one of them approached Elon. The officer's gaze landed briefly on Titan before he spoke. "Everything okay here, Mr. Musk?" Elon straightened, nodding. "Thanks to Titan, everything's under control. He handled it before you even arrived." One officer moved toward the group's leader, pulling out handcuffs. The man started yelling in protest, his words tumbling out in frantic bursts. "This is a mistake. We didn't do anything wrong. It's all a misunderstanding." His protests were cut short when Titan took a deliberate step forward, emitting a low growl. It wasn't aggressive. It didn't need to be. It was a warning, subtle but undeniably clear. There would be no more nonsense here. The officer who had been eyeing Titan suddenly froze, his brow furrowing in recognition. A wide grin spread across his face as he turned to his partner. "Wait a minute. Is this Titan the K9 who cracked that cartel case in Phoenix?" Hearing this, the criminals exchanged panicked glances. Their leader stammered, his confidence crumbling. "Police dog, how are we supposed to know?" The other officer chuckled, shaking his head as he watched their growing terror. "If you'd known, maybe you'd have thought twice about picking this fight. Titan isn't just any dog. He's a legend. He's taken down more criminals than I can count." As the men were being handcuffed and led toward the patrol car, one of them mustered a final weak attempt at bravado. "This isn't over," he shouted, his voice lacking the conviction it once held. "You'll pay for this someday." Elon stepped forward, his calm gaze locking onto the man. His tone was firm but steady. "That day won't come," he said with quiet authority, "because men like you have no place in a society that values integrity." Titan stood tall beside Elon, his sharp eyes never leaving the group. It was as if the dog himself reinforced Elon's words without uttering a single sound. As the men were loaded into the back of the patrol car, one officer gestured to a nearby streetlight. A small camera was mounted on it, its lens angled perfectly toward the scene of the confrontation. "This is going to make our job a lot easier," he said with satisfaction. "We've got the whole incident on tape. These guys won't be able to argue with evidence this clear." Another officer, older and seasoned, approached Elon. His gaze softened as it landed on Titan, his admiration evident. "Mr. Musk, this dog is incredible. I've worked with some of the best canines in the field, but Titan, he's something else." Elon crouched beside Titan, running a hand over the dog's sleek coat. His voice was thoughtful, tinged with pride. "He's more than just incredible. Titan's not just skilled. He's loyal. He protects not because he has to, but because it's who he is." The officer nodded, a small smile forming. "Dogs like Titan do more than keep us safe. They remind us of what we should strive to be: loyal, courageous, and steadfast. They don't just serve, they inspire." Elon looked at Titan, his expression softening. "You're right," he said almost to himself. "They show us the values that really matter, even in moments like this." The officer placed a reassuring hand on Elon's shoulder. "You've got a rare companion there. It's clear he'd do anything for you. Not everyone's that lucky." As the patrol car drove away, the flashing lights disappearing into the night, the park began to regain its quiet stillness. Elon remained crouched beside Titan for a moment longer, his hand resting on the dog's head. "Come on, buddy," Elon said finally, his voice steady. "Let's head home." Titan wagged his tail briefly, a sign that, despite everything, he was ready for whatever came next. Together, they walked back toward the edge of the park, leaving behind a scene that would soon be the talk of the town. But for Elon and Titan, it was just another chapter in their story. A story of loyalty, bravery, and an unbreakable bond. Elon watched silently as the police car's taillights faded into the night, taking the criminals away. Titan stood faithfully at his side, his sharp gaze following the scene until the car disappeared. It was as though Titan was ensuring one last time that all was truly safe. Elon knelt down, placing a hand on the dog's head. You know, he said softly, I've always known you were special, but tonight, you've shown the world just how extraordinary you are. Titan tilted his head slightly, his calm eyes meeting Elon's. For Elon, Titan wasn't just a companion. He was a protector, a symbol of loyalty, courage, and unwavering justice. What happened that night wasn't just a story about bravery. It became a tale that would ripple far beyond the park. The story spreads. By the following morning, the story of Titan's heroic actions had spread across social media like wildfire. Posts, photos, and even videos praised the retired K9 and Elon Musk for their courage in a tense and dangerous situation. Hashtags like #Titan the hero and K9 courage began trending, with countless people sharing their own stories of heroic pets. But the story wasn't just about praise, it inspired action. A grassroots movement called Honor the Heroes emerged, advocating for the adoption of retired service and police dogs. The campaign highlighted how these brave animals, even in retirement, still had so much to give. One quiet afternoon, Elon sat on his porch sipping coffee when his neighbor and her young daughter stopped by. The girl shyly handed him a drawing she had made. It depicted Titan standing proudly beneath a starry sky, with the words, "Protector of Justice," written boldly above him. "Thank you, Mr. Musk," the girl said softly, "and thank you, Titan, for keeping us safe." Titan wagged his tail, his demeanor warm but calm, as though even this heartfelt gesture was just part of his daily duty. Elon smiled warmly, his heart swelling with gratitude. A lasting tribute. A week later, Elon and Titan returned to the park for their usual evening stroll. As they walked, something caught Elon's eye near the spot where the confrontation had taken place. A small crowd had gathered around a newly installed plaque. Curious, Elon approached and read the inscription, "In honor of Titan, the legendary dog who stood for justice, loyalty, and courage." On this spot, Titan protected his owner and community with unwavering bravery, a reminder of the strength and love that lives in our most loyal companions. Elon crouched beside Titan, gently patting his head. "You know, they didn't put this up for me," he said softly. "This is all for you." Titan glanced at the plaque, then back at Elon, his steady gaze reflecting a quiet acceptance. For him, it wasn't about recognition. It was simply about doing what was right. The park felt different now, not just because of the plaque, but because of the newfound sense of safety and inspiration Titan's actions had brought to the community. Lessons from a hero. Titan's story became more than just a tale of a brave dog and his owner. It was a reminder of the values that hold society together: loyalty, courage, and the responsibility to stand up for what's right. For the criminals, it was a warning. The law and its protectors come in many forms, and justice will always prevail. For the community, Titan became a symbol of resilience and gratitude. He showed them that heroes come in all shapes and sizes, sometimes with 4 legs and a wagging tail. For Elon, the night had been transformative. It reminded him of the incredible bond between humans and animals, and the power of unwavering trust. "That's the thing about you, Titan," Elon said as they walked home that evening. "You don't just protect, you inspire. This world is better because of dogs like you." As always, Titan didn't reply. He simply trotted faithfully alongside Elon, his posture steady and confident, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. He wasn't just a dog. He was a silent hero, a guardian, and a friend. A message for us. Although this story is fictional, the values it highlights are profoundly real. Loyalty, bravery, and responsibility are traits we can all embrace, not just in our relationships with each other, but also with the incredible animals who stand by our sides. If Titan's story has moved you, consider taking action. Support retired service dogs. Many brave canines deserve a second chance at a loving home after their years of service. Spread the message. Share this story to remind others of the extraordinary bond between humans and animals. Cherish your pets. Whether they're working dogs or loving companions, they bring courage and joy into our lives every day. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elon and Titan disappeared into the glow of the evening, leaving behind a story that was more than just an act of bravery. It was a testament to the unbreakable bond between a man and his dog, and a reminder that sometimes heroes walk among us on 4 legs. And while heroes don't always wear capes, they might just have a wagging tail and a heart of gold.